Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to solution demo number 6. This is going pain-free using AI and contract analysis, creation, and negotiation. Today, I am pleased to introduce our presenter. Amrita Joshi is the CMO at Orchid, an AI platform company that helps enterprises build powerful, predictive apps. Amrita's global business experience in the technology industry spans a breadth of roles, from CEO to CMO to globalization consultant. She has held several permanent and interim CMO positions in companies that focus on next-generation technology products and services. Amrita has packaged and taken to market virtually hundreds of solutions in areas such as AI, securities, big data, machine learning, automation, and cloud. Amrita wanted me to mention that in a prior life, she was actually the VP of sourcing for a mid-sized bank and worked as a sourcing advisor for a couple of years, where she attended her first SIG conference in 2004. She ventured back to SIG just last year to help launch Orchid's new ContractAI solution. Welcome, Amrita. Welcome, attendees. Please remember to type your questions into the Q&A chat, and we can address them throughout the demo, as it's designed to be an interactive session. If you have a question you want to raise your hand, do that, and I can unmute you, and you can engage that way as well. So thank you, welcome, and take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Thanks to SIG to having us at their first all-digital conference. So I'm going to, just to get you guys going, we're going to have kind of 3 parts to this presentation. And we are doing this live, so except for a little small video at the end, so bear with us. We're going to do a live demo as well. So I'm going to do a short overview of ContractAI for everyone. And I know a lot of you, I kind of saw your names, have actually seen our little teaser video, so you have some idea of what you are attending. And then I'm going to jump into a demo of our beta version, which is actually in production with our beta client, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll show a very short 5-minute video that's just showcasing some new features that are coming up in our version 1.0 that's being released at the end of the month. So you get an idea of what that version is going to look like. And so I'll go through the presentation. As you said, feel free to put in your questions. We're going to take live questions right after the presentation and throughout the demo. I like it that way. That's how I'm used to doing it. So please feel free to interrupt and would be happy to answer your questions. So, just a little bit about Orchid. So Orchid is actually an enterprise-grade AI platform that helps enterprises build apps quickly, powerful predictive apps. And so you can see this portion of the platform right here, that we are actually a full AI lifecycle platform, from the data extraction all the way to presenting the data in a way that makes sense for what you would like to see. So ContractAI is actually the first standalone product, SaaS product, that we have built and we're selling on its own on our AI platform. But we have over 20 AI apps actually in production with Fortune 1000 companies. And as you can see, we've been growing pretty fast the past 3 years. So it's been really fun to be a part of this company during this stage. So let me talk a little bit about what we are trying to solve. So our beta and co-innovation partners, British Petroleum, are actually our first client, and they were actually looking, they had been looking on the market for a product that helps solve some of these needs. And but they couldn't find one, and so they asked us, hey, can you build one on the Orchid platform for us that solves these issues? So they had seen, like many companies, a big increase in their SaaS contracts, and they had the same amount of people working on it, but they had a marked increase. I can't remember exactly what the number was in their SaaS contracts, but they also, as you know, with SaaS contracts, they actually have shorter renewal cycles. So they just had a lot more contracts they had to get through that were taking up legal resources in their own time. And so they wanted to be able to reduce / eliminate the redlining process as much as possible, limit the legal resources they needed for every contract, but they did not want to increase the risk, of course. They felt they had caught a couple kind of terms and conditions that had been that they had missed in, getting these contracts through quickly. So they wanted to be able to check that their old wanted to be able to review their old contracts to see if they had any risks that they were unaware of. And altogether, they wanted to be able to import data from their historical contracts to help mitigate risk and improve their templates. You guys will know all the reasons for being able to do that in an easy format. So these are the problems we really set out to solve. So ContractAI is really is an AI-powered SaaS-based solution that automates the analysis, creation, and negotiation of contracts. So we are looking at the phase up until the signing of the contract in terms of what ContractAI can do right now. So how does it work? So first, we ingest all of your historical contracts and templates that are relevant. So we can do this from PDF, Word, or images. Okay. We extract metadata and all of the contract language automatically. So this is important because we actually are doing a lot of analysis, not just on key metadata, which I know some of the products do, but we are actually doing our analysis on all the contract language. So then we use that analysis to actually recommend win-win clause options to create templates. And what we mean by that is we're actually using what you have historically signed in the past to recommend options that you can give your suppliers. It's giving them these options that's actually reducing the time it takes for them to go through the contract. So then you will provide suppliers with pre-vetted scored clause options. So procurement will go through the options, choose which ones they want. Legal will go through those options, make sure that everything is fine. And then the suppliers will actually choose options and sign the contract if you're doing an RFP process in parallel to the RFP process. So when you get that RFP back, you get the pricing back, you're also getting a score of likely contracting risk with those suppliers. Because as you guys know, a lot of the suppliers do not take the contract seriously, even if you give it to them during the RFP process, right? They wait. And then of course there we actually have, which is just looks like a side note here, but a very powerful AI analytics engine, which we'll show you in the demo today. So key benefits is that this process streamlines the negotiation process by virtually eliminating the redlining process. You're going to get some really cool AI-powered insights, being able to understand very quickly negotiation boundaries, legal and compliance implications, etc. We mitigate contract risk because you can't really miss anything when you're giving suppliers options, right? They're not redlining it. If you have someone junior in your group who may not understand the implications of some redline and accepts it, that flaw goes away as well. And then a big positive, especially in this day and age where we've talked about supplier and buyer relationships and the importance of that relationship building, is that this really minimizes the contracting friction because you're not going back and forth as much, and you're giving suppliers, if you approach this correctly, options that are win-win, that make sense for them. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about just a couple of the features that I haven't talked about before, but what really makes us different is I think we are one, I won't say the only, but I think we're pretty close to one of the only contract solutions out there that's actually been built on a proven enterprise AI platform. So when we built this beta product, we actually built it in just 4 months, and that's because we already had an enterprise-grade AI platform. So we were able to build this very quickly. And a couple of the points I'm going to note on that is, one is the automated ingestion and metadata extraction. This is, there's various companies that have this or claim to do this. This is difficult. Being able to actually ingest and analyze all of the language in a short period of time without QA, without you having to do a ton of QA, without you having to tag all of those clauses, et cetera, is something that is built into our platform. So that's a key differentiator for us. And then I'm going to talk about, we also have contract templates that evolve over time. So once suppliers are making those choices, you can actually, the system will actually say, hey, we recommend you changing this template and reducing these options because no one's choosing option 1 or 2. Or it might say, hey, everyone is escalating on this clause option, you need to rethink those. So you're constantly improving your templates to shorten that negotiation time in the future. And then a couple things I want to talk through is that our comprehension, so contract comprehension and comparison and semantic similarity engine. So that's really the NLP, is looking at your language. And because we are an AI platform, we have also built in what's called an ontology or a knowledge graph of legal and procurement terms. So that is why we are able to do the automatic tagging. That's why we're able to look at 2 clauses that are different in terms of their actual text, but we can actually say in meaning, these are similar, and you only need one of these options. So we have a very strong NLP engine based on that graph. And then the last thing is we have all of our apps, or most of them I should say, where it makes sense, have this Q&A search. So we like to not have a bunch of standard reports and dashboards. You can just go in and ask a question such as, show me all contracts that in 2021, that expire in 2021 that have insurance values less than 5 million. And all your contracts in that subset that you've defined should show up. So that's a little bit about how we're doing difference. And I want to just switch gears a little bit to, how can you use ContractAI during this time? So let me, so here are some of the things that we were, and we had, we have a few prospect clients that we're speaking to and like what they're going through right now. And so we kind of thought through this, and I'll show you a couple of examples of this in the demo, but what if you were able to assess your consequences of contractual defaults automatically? And what if you were able to identify which vendors were most likely to exercise force majeure clauses without having to go through all of your contracts one by one? And then what if you were able to renegotiate some of your contracts with suppliers in as little as 2 weeks? If you had really short, that you're going to have to reduce cash, you're one of the companies, unfortunately, that has been very hard hit, and you need to send some things out for renegotiation. How can you do it with multiple vendors? Maybe not just one or your preferred, but multiple to really get the best price very quickly. And we think that's something that's very plausible in ContractAI. So the technology exists out there for sure in terms of AI technology, et cetera, and the data exists. We all know that you have systems of records that you are keeping, but the apps that kind of bridge this together are really kind of difficult to find. And that's why we kind of formed ContractAI. So how could we help? The first thing is really just being able to quickly assess and automatically things that you need to look at, your critical risks. So the areas of service levels, insurance requirements, limitation of liabilities and payment terms, et cetera. So being able to do searches, and not just searches, but correlations between data very quickly so that you can figure out where to concentrate your efforts on. And that goes along with this first point, ensuring your legal compliance and mitigating risk, okay? And then the last thing, as I talked about, is really being able to negotiate those contracts really quickly and with win-win clause options, so you can get some pricing and get some commitments back very quickly, okay? So with that, we're going to start the demo, and I'll just let you know that ContractAI is really a suite of 3 apps. AO Analyzer, which is the brain of ContractAI. So the ingestion is done here, the metadata extraction, template creation, you're coming up with the clause options, as well as the analytics is all in the Analyzer app. The AO Buyer app is really your procurement dashboard. So that's where you would initiate a new project. and configure and publish your, and basically track the contracts you have outstanding. And then AO collaboration is really for the suppliers. This is where they're able to respond to your contract. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop. And my colleague, Kat, has been nice enough to run the demo for me, so I'm not multitasking too much. So we'll go ahead and get started there. And Jeff, I don't know if there were any general questions, or you'd like me to just go with the demo and then
well,
we'll
I did have one pop up real quick. How many languages do you have available?
I think right now we just have English, but we have tested. So in ContractAI, right now we have English in ContractAI, let me say that. But we have tested other languages on our app Orchid platform. So it's not that we couldn't do it, but yeah, we would have to see.
Yeah, it's actually in our roadmap.
It's in the roadmap to add some more languages.
Yes.
Okay, that one was from Katya, and Brendan George says, "Go, I'm ready to go. Loving this session." So with that, I'll let you guys launch the demo.
Okay, great. Okay, so here we have, so this is our, so like I said, this is our beta version, and you'll see that, I mean, this looks pretty nice, but you'll see our contract version 1.0 is much prettier, but we'll show you all of the core functionality in this demo. So this is our contracts overview, and this is, of course, a demo environment, so you can see there's just 11 contracts imported, 2 templates, but you can see it's extracted 370 main clauses and 4,000 plus subclauses. And if you look down here at the table, it's actually pulled all of the key metadata that was defined, and this is completely configurable. So you can kind of see what's missing, right, in this couple rows, and then just enter some of the missing data right in here in a tabular format after you did a bulk upload. So we will go ahead and show you how easy the uploading is. And so we're going to upload one PDF contract right now, but as we said, you can actually do bulk uploads. So Kat's starting that, and she's pulling it off of her desktop, but you can pull this off of, SharePoint, whatever your system of record was, or Ariba, etc. So it's automatically started, if you can see the screen, pulling the data. You have some key data on the left side, metadata and contract summary data. It's pulled the number of definitions. It's starting to extract the clauses. You can see that over here. And it's already starting to compare the main clauses with the template, okay, and subclauses. So it's going through that process right now. And what it will also do at the end is give you a semantic score, a score that tells you how close is this contract to your original template in terms of concept and meaning. So that's something that you'll also get a score. So once you start uploading, you'll start realizing, oh, this contract has changed a lot. I better look at it more carefully, or there's just very few changes. Okay. So I don't know if that's coming down at the bottom, or if you can scroll. I think it's still working its way. But also during this time, you can extract any metadata that you want to define. So you can configure this in multiple ways. Okay. So I think let's go to the next one, which will show you our main changes dashboard. So we'll go to that, and you can see that. Go ahead.
Real quick, Amaretta. If ContractAI can ingest scan images of historical contracts, are those documents editable within the platform? And if so, where is that information stored?
Okay, so right now the documents themselves are not editable because they're signed, I mean, the ones you're not running through the process because they're signed contracts, right? So we don't want people to edit them. But there's also user controls where you could, so if you define by user access controls, there could be people who are allowed, admins, et cetera, to download, et cetera. So you could do that. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question? Did I answer that correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, where's it stored? Where's it stored? So this is a SaaS cloud-based system. So we can store everything in a secure environment. Right now we're using AWS. So our preferred environment, of course, is multi-tenant, and we have a lot of security around that, but we can also upload it to a private cloud environment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So this is our changes dashboard, and we're just going to scroll. So if you look at the top, again, configurable, you can configure all the contracts by category, subcategory, category, commodity group, template. So you can look at it, slice and dice this any way you want. If you go down, you can see it's going to tell you for this subset. Right now, we're looking at all the documents, how many changes there have been. So 67% of the main clauses have been changed. And you can really see if those are modifications, deletions, or additions. And you can actually drill down and look at all of those changes if you'd like. So we'll scroll down and just look at one example. I think where this is really useful is for you to improve your templates. So if you look here, this is showing you the top 10 main clauses that are changed, that have been changed in these 11 contracts. So we're going to take a look at insurance, and you can go and drill in here and actually see all of the changes to those. I think it was 10 contracts, so 10 out of the 11 companies changed this contract all in one area, right? So you can scroll down and see what's changed, and this can kind of help you to improve your templates in the future by making some changes if you see the same change over and over again. Okay. So I think we can move on then. I'm going to show you a little bit about the search functionality, which is getting a big upgrade in our next version, but I want to show you how you could use it during this time. So we're going to I want to search all of my clauses. I want to see what my, if I'm the risk, so this is what I'm going to look for, is the risk of suppliers exercising their force majeure clauses during this pandemic. Okay, so I'm just going to do a search on pandemic. And I'm scrolling down, and sorry, this is dummy data, so a lot of it's similar. But if you're scrolling down, you can see that these are all what's popped up is business continuity. We don't have the word pandemic anywhere in force majeure that I can see. So I am going to now have to go look at the force majeure clauses independently, right, specifically. So I'm going to go look into this, and if you could go, Kat, into the, so we can see that there's a lot of force majeure clauses, but I'm going to go ahead and, can you go into the individual contracts so we can go ahead and show that? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and search this particular contract. So this is Globex Corporation, and you can see when I'm in a contract on this left-hand side, it's going to show all the results where force majeure comes up in which section. And this is pretty useful for, like, if just your tax person is looking it over, and sometimes tax things are hidden in other sections. But we're going to go look specifically at the force majeure clause. So let's click on that. And we can see, I'm reading this, and you guys might not be able to read it, but there is something about biological contamination. So I'm making the determination that there is a risk of our supplier of exercising this clause, right? So Kat's just turned on the annotation mode, and I want this to show up next time there's a pandemic. That wasn't tagged automatically by the system. So I'm going to go in and write this tag in, and I could even write COVID if we're afraid there's a second wave. So next time I search, it comes up. And so now I have put my knowledge in, or my interpretation of this clause. That's what we call tribal knowledge at App Orchid. And next time we do a search on pandemic or COVID, this clause is going to come up. Okay. So let me go to just a couple other screens. Just to show you the types of analytics that can be done. So Kat, if we go to the insurance screen, that will be great. I'm sorry, it's in overview insurance, yes. So where is it? There we go. Oh, is it not working? It's working a little bit. Oh, that's not good. Okay, we'll take a pause and a question while Kat gets this up and running.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have one. If you're uploading multiple iterations of a contract or document, is there a way to see the historical changes? And is there a version control based on a hierarchy of user and user rights?
Great question, we always get asked. So that is not there currently, but it will be in our September 2020 release. Yes. So it's not in version 1.0 that's coming out this week, but we know that that's something we need to add.
Okay.
So great. Do you want to ask another one? Is there any demo specific one before I go pick this up? Thanks, Kat.
Let's see if there's any others that have come in. Folks, again, you can enter into the chat and then and or put your hand up if you want to ask live.
Okay, great. So I'll go on. So we have the insurance screen. So this is just some of the types of analysis we can do. So you can see there's a tabular format on the top, but here at the bottom, we're actually comparing, these individual dots are showing individual contracts. On the y-axis is the insurance amount that was signed for, and on the x-axis is at the contract value. So we're looking at that correlation, of which you can see is not very high, but this, this would be very useful at this time. For example, if you did this on payment terms, and we have done this, where you could see, the contract value juxtaposed against the payment terms to see, hey, if I'm in a real cash crunch, which contract should I try to negotiate late payment days first, right? Probably your highest ones. So you can very quickly go to this information and help you prioritize your renegotiation strategy. And then the last kind of analytics screen I want to show is kind of a pivot table design that we have. So if you're really going into doing some very detailed analysis, you can go into the main clauses. Oh, we're having some errors, of course, because we're live, we're having some errors. Kat, if you think it's internet versus actual errors, let me know.
That's wonderful technology. But
it always happens. And I'm the one who wanted to do this live, so I'm, yeah.
Well, it gives us time for another question, Amrita.
Yes.
From Brad.
Okay.
Who's the typical stakeholder decision maker you sell to? Is it procurement or legal that holds the final decision?
So I think it's been procurement thus far, but legal has always been involved in the process. Yeah. And I'm going to be very straightforward with this answer. Internal legal's very excited about this because they're always swamped, right? And they understand that this may not work for the most complex contract that is a one-off. I mean, it's not really meant for that. But if they can just eliminate those, the 100 SaaS contracts they keep seeing, and if this can work on that, or the ones that are for a major commodity you keep buying, and they don't have to look at each one, they're pretty excited about it. So, but it's procurement usually.
Okay, excellent. Seeing as how it's SaaS, what's the implementation period look like? How long does it typically take to get up and running?
Yeah, so this is a good question. It's pretty quick, and to give you an idea, you guys know that we're still early. We just put our plan together for one of our early adopter clients that's starting in July, and we have a 6-week implementation. They are going to, I'm not sure we'll upload all their contracts, but they're at this point, but it's 25,000 contracts. So it's pretty quick. So it's 6 weeks is the implementation, 2 weeks, they're going to QA the data, and then they're going to be live.
Wow, that is fast. Okay, thank you.
So we have our main clause dashboard up right now, and you can see this is kind of like a pivot table. So it's a little bit of a heat map. It's showing you which clauses you can actually go to clause and subclause level and see which ones have changed the most. So it goes some really detailed analysis. And right from here, you can right click and actually look at the contract changes themselves, similar to how we did in the changes dashboard. So if we click on that, you can see that you can see all the red lines of that specific clause. But what's also kind of cool is you can actually go into one specific contract and view that contract against the template. So you have the contract up at the top, and you have the template at the bottom, and you can kind of scroll down and do kind of a very, more traditional comparison if you wanted to eyeball that. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how are we doing on time, Jeff? I just want to make sure I'm not going way over. Are you still good? Okay, we're about 30 minutes.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so we are now, this is the template creation piece. So how you can set up your template and choices for your suppliers. So keeping with the insurance theme, we're going to scroll down there, and we're going to go look at a specific clause. So we're going to look at 13.13, I think. Yes, 13.13. So we're in here, and what you'll see is you've clicked on the clause, and this is the recommendations from the system based on what you have historically signed are on the right. The top choice is your template option. Okay, so this is where procurement would go in and legal and review these. My guess is procurement would look at it first and then legal, because you'd get all the business terms, you know, correct. So we're going to go down and go to edit point 2. So this thing says 3.3 million because we probably signed something for 3.3, which is a little weird, but we're going to change that to 4, right? Because we just want to make it standard. And I'm going to reduce the risk of this by 1, because this is very close to what I want, which is 5 million. So I'm going to reduce this and save the changes. And I'm going to scroll down and look at these options, and I'm looking at point number 5. And 5 is only 500,000 of insurance. I don't like that. I don't really, even though I signed it before, I don't want to give that choice to anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and unselect it. Okay. Or I guess it is unselected. So yeah, unselect it, and that will not show up as a choice for your supplier. So that's pretty much how you go down. In our newest version, you're going to see that you can add an option yourself, add your own language, but any of these can be edited as well. Okay. So that finishes for the Analyzer app. If there's any questions very specifically on that, I can answer that, and then we'll jump into collaboration.
Yep, perfect. So just on a time check, you have 30 minutes, so we're good there. Is ContractAI something that resides purely within the purview of the procurement department, or can other stakeholders gain access, and to what extent?
Others can. So you pretty much, in our next version, you can assign it out, and you'll see that on the collaboration app too. You can assign reviewers and assign out sections. And in the new version, there's messaging and collaboration built into the app itself. So
great, thank you.
Okay, so here I'm skipping the buyer app for now because there's a lot of upgrades to that in version 1.0, and you'll see that video. So we're going to go ahead and just show what the supplier sees when they log in. So when they log in the first time, they're going to get like a very simple 5-slide tutorial on how to use this. So very easy. We're actually doing our first training session in a month with suppliers. That's scheduled for half an hour, but I think it's going to take 10 minutes. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Before we launch, Brandon had a call. I'm going to let him talk so he can ask you live if you're okay with that. Great. Brandon, can you hear us?
Oops.
Hello, Brandon, can you hear us? Try again. Brandon, can you hear us?
I see Brandon up, but with Sarah Scudder's picture, so I'm not sure. Oh, there's Brandon also.
Okay.
So we'll get you guys, but at least if you put it in the chat, we'll make sure your question is answered. So this is the supplier app. So you can see on the left-hand side are all the different sections, and so they can view it. You know, they can go out of order, etc. The green check mark shows that they have already, this is one in process, they've already checked that section, acknowledged and finished that section. If there's a red dot next to it, it means they chose one of the options. It's not just the template language, right? So you can, and procurement will see the same thing on their side. So they can actually go and, you know, quickly go through where the changes are, right? So now let's go ahead and see how they choose their options. So again, we'll go to the insurance theme, and I forget which one we are going to be looking at. Let me take a look. So if you look down here first, you can see that the definition, so release order, if you click on that, Kat, that definitions are right there accessible. If you see red highlighted language, it means that they have chosen an option that is other than the template. So you can scroll through those fairly quickly. So let's go ahead and click on, should we click on 13.1? I don't remember which one we're changing, but if you look at 13.13, so you'll see the template language at the top, right? And just note this, do you see these negotiation points on the top left? So in this scenario, and we can do it anyway, we've given each supplier 100 points, and then as they choose options that are considered more risky to you or higher cost, those get deducted. So in this case, why don't we just choose option 3 or the last option so we can see that. So the supplier goes in and decides that they're going to pick option 3, and you'll see that the points actually are deducting off of the top of the negotiation points. So they also have an idea of what's important to you, right? As opposed to just one template option. So then they'll go to the bottom, and when they're done with this section, click the acknowledge. And once they've acknowledged all of the different sections on the left, this next step button at the top right will be enabled, and they can click that and go straight into DocuSign and sign the contract and submit that. Okay. So that is the end of our demo, this demo. So I can take some questions, and then we have the 5-minute what's new, what's coming up in our full version. So Jeff?
Okay, yes. Out of curiosity, what's the bandwidth on the number of contracts or documents that can be uploaded?
We don't have one. I mean, we have put out bids for all the way as low as 5,000 contracts to 200,000 contracts. So it's just going to be the way that we configure AWS for the right amount. And the only time it's taking up a quote unquote a lot of bandwidth is at that upload time, right? So we would have to maybe space those out, but once they're in there, it's fine.
Okay.
And I can get someone to give you a more technical answer if you'd like. So sorry if that was not technical enough, but hopefully that gives you an idea.
Okay. So folks, again, you can raise your hand or put type your questions into the Q&A.
Okay. And in the meantime, I'm just going to bring up this video that's going to show you. So this is coming out at the end of the month, as I said, and I just want to thank my colleague, who is this is a very quick demo she put together for me this week. And this is, she's one of our UX designers, so she's doing all of the cool new design work, and I will go ahead and launch this right now.
Be showing you new features that are coming to the ContractAI family of apps for version 1.0. First up is the Analyzer app, which will be used to analyze contracts and create templates. We now have improved metadata extraction and refinement when creating a new template. Simply upload your document into the system, answer some simple questions on the left. Once your processing strategy is complete, you'll be provided a confidence score based on those values you provided. In this example, the machine is confident that 95% of your document was extracted. You can either continue refining the process here, or you can go ahead and save and build your template. Next up, you can add a new clause variance manually with the ability to set risk levels. As you can see here for clause variances, you now have the ability to add the risks associated with each clause variance. Now you have the ability to add one here manually. Next up, create variable in the template using placeholders. With automatically tagging turned on, you can create a variable using automatically suggested tags. Simply select on those tags, enter the values here, and save. Now you've created a variable using placeholders. You can also create one here manually by following the same steps. Next up, you can apply rules to the entire document, clause, or keyword. Just go to the rules page and create your new rule. Once your rule has been created, you navigate to the template and select which clause you want to apply that rule. Now the rule that you've created in the rules page has been applied to your clause. You can also add one here manually by following the same steps. Last up, our new search allows for the ability to search for concepts, topics, and it's not just based on string search. Unlike most contract search functionality, which is limited to keyword or string searches, ContractAI searches by topic or concept based on tagging. In version 1.0, tagging of content is done automatically. And that was it for the Analyzer app. Next up is the Buyer app, which will be used by the procurement team to build new deals. The new supplier progress tracking now allows you to see what changes have been made to the contract, along with new filtering options for easier navigation. Simply view the contract that has been signed, pending, or has been declined. You now have the ability to also message your team members and discuss the changes that were made to this contract from the vendors. Coming soon, you will also have the ability to accept or decline those changes in the contract. Lastly, for the buyer app, we have improved layout for building a deal. You'll see here we have them all sorted by cue cards for easier reading and easier navigation. Last up is a collaboration app, which will be used by suppliers or vendors to negotiate a contract. We now have a new dashboard which allows for viewing contracts that are in different stages of the process. You can see here that we have it displayed in various stages. We also have the ability to see new messages that are coming in from your team members. You can also sort by filtering. And last up, if you have any new messages come in real time, you will now be able to see them here on the bottom. Next, we have suppliers now have the ability to propose an optional clause in addition to any of the pre-selected options. Now you'll see here we have a blank page or a blank area, to apply a suggested clause option. This feature is actually turned on by the buyer inside the buyer app. The user can now enter those values and save, and you'll see those changes made here. And last up, team members can now collaborate and provide feedback with contract using our new messaging system. Like the buyer app, the collaboration app has the same functionality. Team members can actually message each other and collaborate on the template, or the contract. And that's it. Those are the new features that are coming to you for ContractAI version 1.0. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Great. So thank you. Okay. Jeff, can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Okay, so we did have a few more questions coming in from the audience. Thank you.
Great.
You can see them in the chat. As AI is a very popular subject right now, how is it being leveraged in ContractAI specifically, and what makes it different from other business intelligence tools?
Oh, that's a good question. Somebody asked that question yesterday at a session I was at. So I think here's the difference. So one, in the first stage of any kind of AI project, even that we've done where we build an app, the first thing is to bring in all the data into one spot, right? And so you can get that 360 degree view of the data, right? So that's similar in the sense, depending on the type of BI platform, as you would, in AI and BI, that's similar, except the way that we're extracting and what we're doing to the data is different to prepare it for what I call phase 2, right? So first is getting all the data in one spot, and there are BI tools that do that, right? But then it is, how do you use that data to actually make predictions and recommendations, right? Or what are you using it for? So in this example in ContractAI, we're not just doing the analysis on the data that we extract, we're helping you build a better template, right? We're making recommendations that will shorten your negotiation process. So that's a difference. The other big difference is when we are extracting that data, we're actually getting that data ready for machine learning automatically. And the fact that we are extracting and enhancing our knowledge graph. So we start out with a baseline ontology, which has all the procurement and legal standard language that we would see in a contract. But then we're actually improving that ontology based on your data for you, okay? So that's the other big difference. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, great, yeah. Will this work for historical contacts, maybe contracts that have gone through several print and scan cycles during signing?
Yes, I think so. We would when we ingest the historical one, we would probably just ingest the final, but if you wanted to do the analysis on all those pieces, it would be fine. So they would be uploaded, if they were all separately, they would be uploaded as they could be uploaded just as one contract or as different subsets. And right now, even the functionality we have right now does note, so even if you upload a master contract that has 3 schedules, you are able to do the analysis of those schedules separately. So.
Okay. All right. Do these messages happen within the tool, or do they get pushed into Skype, Slack, etc.?
They are within the tool, and I do think in that next version there is also some email alert functionality.
Okay, great. What are the different levels of team members who can have access, as in viewer, editor, admin, or even more?
We have very strong user access based control that you can configure because it's based on our platform. So right now what we recommend, so you can do it any way you want based on your policies. So the typical ones we see are the admins, so limiting who can upload those contracts, right? You want to make sure the QA is strong, et cetera. And then we have core procurement, we have reviewers, we have legal, and your admins can configure that.
Okay, great, thank you. We have another one here. Does the system have any kind of configurable CSS ability?
That's a technical question, I'm sorry. I don't know what CSS, does anyone know what CSS, can you spell out CSS for me?
It's just CSS. Is what the
Oh, no,
question
no,
is.
no. Can you
Yeah,
define that for me, Kat?
Sorry.
I wish I had our tech guy on here. I'm sorry. I'm going to get back to you on that one.
No problem at all. No problem. Okay, that's all the questions we have, folks. If you have any last questions, now is the time. I'm just checking to see if anybody has their hands up either. That's a different screen. No? Okay, well then I think that this has been a great session. It has been interactive. So thank you very much for that, Amrita. Folks, as a reminder to go in and fill out your evaluations. And this session will be available on demand for tomorrow, and then as well as in the SRC if you are a SIG member. So, it's a document design term meaning cascading style sheets, whatever that means.
Okay. Now at least I know what it means, so I will go ask someone. I will definitely, if the person is not anonymous, I hope I can, you know what, I'm going to put it in our chat window. Okay,
there you go. And
in our general chat, I'm going to answer that question after this.
And folks, you can visit Amrita in the Innovation Hall as well. So, yeah. Excellent. Note there's the closing keynote is in another 10 minutes, and the Innovation Hall is open. All right. Thanks again. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Kat.
Bye-bye.